So this is where, again, it's really important for us to pay attention to the order in which our congruent statement is written. So MKL is congruent to JET. So again, I can read this statement and I can say M is congruent to J, K is congruent to E, and L is congruent to T. And we know that because of the order in which the congruent statement is written. Then I know that MK is congruent to JE, and KL is congruent to ET, so that leaves these last sides congruent to each other. So once I do my markings, then I want to go start answering my questions. It'll make it a lot easier if you mark the triangle first so that you can see the corresponding parts. So the first statement asks about what is angle L congruent to? Well, we look for the angle that has the 3 markings, so that's going to be angle T. MK, so that's this side here with the single marking, is going to be congruent to JE. The measurement of angle E, okay, well, we can see that angle E is right here, and its corresponding angle is angle K, which has been labeled as 32 degrees. So that means E has to be 32 degrees. Then we can see that ML is matching up to JT, and JT is 6 centimeters, so therefore ML has to be 6 centimeters. Letter E is going to be triangle ETJ. So again, all they're doing is rewriting this in a different order. So the way that we're flowing around this triangle, ETJ, like that, means that it's going to be congruent to KLM. So KLM. So we're going to write triangle KLM. Again, making sure that we're using those corresponding sides and angles and writing them in the same order. And then the last one, the angle JTE. So angle JTE is this angle right here, which corresponds with angle MLK. All right, in our next example, we're looking to find X and Y. So again, we are given that ABCD is congruent to KJHL. So we want to make sure that we label our angles and our sides first. So this is showing us that angle A is congruent to angle K. Angle B is congruent to angle J. Angle C is congruent to angle H. And angle L and angle D are congruent to each other. Our corresponding sides then, AB is congruent to KJ. And again, that's kind of counterintuitive. One of them has been turned on its side. That's okay. That's why it's so important that we look at the letters and not just looking at the picture. Then BC is going to be congruent to JH. CD is congruent to HL. And then the last one would be DA congruent to LK. Now that I've found those, I can see that I'm looking for X and Y. So my X is right here. So the corresponding side for KJ, again, we're looking for that single tick mark, is AB. So we can say that 4x minus 3 equals 9 and solve that equation. Divide by 4. So x is 3. And then we can see that our y value we are looking for is angle H, which has the 3 lines, so that's matching up to angle C. So we can write an equation for that. 5y minus 12 equals 113. Add 12 to both sides. So 5y equals 125. Divide by 5, and y is 25. All right, almost done. So we're going to write a congruence statement for these and find the value of x. You can see that our markings are all marked up here. However, we know that if these two angles, if we know those two angles, we can find our missing third angle. And that's what we're going to want to do because we can see that we're looking for angle x. And so let's start by writing a congruence statement. So if I start with the angle U, I can say that angle UVW is congruent to triangle. All right, so we're going to go to angle Z because that has the single line. So Z and U are congruent to each other. And then we moved to V, which has the double line. So then we're going to say Y because those might match up to each other. And then W is where we didn't have any markings along with X. So that means X is going to be our last statement. So again, I'm looking for X. So in order to find that, we first need to find the value of angle W. So just like we were doing in our notes last week, looking for that missing figure, we're going to add up these two sides. So those are going to add up to 121 degrees. And then in order to find this missing value, we're going to take 180 minus 121, which is going to give us an answer of 59. So we know that angle W is 59, so therefore angle X has to be 59. So now we can set up that equation and solve for X. So 4X equals 64. Divide both sides by 4, and X equals 16. All right, and in our last example, very similar to the last problem. Again, we have our congruent markings where we can see that angle A is congruent to L, and angle B is congruent to M, and that would leave us with angle C congruent to K. So when we write our congruent statement, we can write triangle ABC is congruent to triangle LMK, matching up those angle measurements. We are looking to solve for X, so we're looking for the value of angle K. In order to get that, we're first going to have to find C. So again, we can add up our two values here. These add up to 132 degrees. So in order to find C, we're going to take 180 minus 132, which gives us a value of 48 degrees. So that means K is 48 degrees. So now I can write the equation 5x minus 2 equals 48 and solve for X. So we'll divide by 5 and X equals 10. All right, that comes to the conclusion of our notes. Now that you have completed your notes, please go show your completed notes to the substitute, and the substitute will provide you with the homework assignment.